Hey guys, and welcome back to the Renaissance Room podcast. I am just coming on to say that as African Americans, if you want to start talking about healing, compassion, respect, and building community and relationships, the first piece that we have to really work on is language, right? How we speak to one another. I know that this sounds like, girl, what? But no, seriously, we have a culture that is really disrespectful. You know what I mean? It's really disrespectful. We really come at each other with such low expectations, such a disregard, and just an innate desire to really kind of like break one's spirit. You know what I mean? Please understand that when you are met with someone who doesn't know something, whether it is a peer, whether it is someone that you're mentoring, whether it is a young person, keep respect in mind, right? Like, be someone who people can come to, and if you want to share a resource, share your resource, but just know that you don't need to do it with the hand, with the side of humility. You don't need to do it with the side of criticism. You don't need to do it with under this tone of like, why you didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like they should have known that. You know what I mean? It is okay not to know things. It's okay not to know things. It's okay to still be learning. It's okay to not be privy to certain experiences. Like, I remember the first time I went to New York City, I ate at this little like cafe. It was like this really bougie cafe with this girl I had met on the plane. Long story. But I remember just telling her, I'm like, wow, you don't ever feel uncomfortable, in these spaces. Like, this is like not my first solo travel, but it was like my second solo travel at the time. I'm 24. And, it's just very bougie. Very bougie, very rich, very much like Italian and just, all these different things. And I'm like, wow, and, she's just sharing with me like, hey, listen, we deserve to be in these spaces just as much as, and I know right now the political climate is hot. So I don't really want to have a conversation about assimilating and, begging to be in white spaces, because this just doesn't really correlate to that. This is about being a part of the American experience and being, respected. Okay, and regarded in spaces that are common places. Okay, it was a restaurant. Let's just take it down a notch. All right, let's not be too political on this. But my point is, and I just want to finish there. My point is, learn how to speak to people. You know what I mean? Learn how to speak to people. I think so many people, you wonder why you don't have any friends. You wonder why you don't have any relationships. Your language is so harsh. You know what I mean? Like the way, and it's like when you do it so long, you have that, because I think so many of us have internalized white supremacy, and so many of us have had so many experiences in academia, more specifically, where you were spoken to like, something was wrong with you for not knowing, you know what I mean? And that's just kind of like racism and microaggressions and how it kind of manifests in those spaces. But like, you don't have to carry that onto, understand that was wrong. Okay. You didn't deserve to be spoken to like that. You are more than competent. You are more than capable. You know what I mean? People have different ways of learning things. I've actually been in classrooms with my professors, and I'm like, oh my God, it's not me, it's you. How are you a teacher and you don't even, have a background in diversified learning styles? You know what I mean? It's not me, it's you. How is this your subject? And you can't explain this to me in a way that makes sense. You know what I mean? All you know is this one narrow way. And, surely not everybody in the class is getting it anyway. You know what I mean? I remember when I walked into applied calculus, it was a teacher, broken English. Okay. And I'm not saying that to be, but I'm serious. Like broken. I mean, just can't even understand what this man is saying, and everyone was like, what are we doing? What did he say? All we know is the problems that he put on the board, so it's like, understand that you're not the only one. I know that this is just, like I said, this is something that kind of comes from being in academia. But I just need y'all to know, like, hey, listen, we got to do better at how we talk to one another. You know what I mean? You don't have to tear somebody down because they don't know something. Okay? You keep talking about gatekeeping. This is gatekeeping. Okay? Jesus Christ, would it kill you to be a little kind? No, kindness is actually pretty free. It's free. I ain't even gonna say it's pretty free. It is free. So I just think we gotta learn how to talk to one another. You know what I mean? If you are someone and you may know something that other people don't know and you don't really care to share it, okay. Call it what you will. You're not a teacher. Okay. So step aside. Keep all your little nuggets to yourself and go on about your business. But this communal harm with language and disrespect, this has to stop. There's no need for it. There is no need for it. I was at the laundromat, for example. I just was having a bad day. Honey. I walked right up to that machine that said, big old sign, broken. broken, do not insert money. And I sure did walk up and put my whole dub in that machine. Okay. And, he was like, how did you do this? How did you, I'm looking at the clerk. He looking at me like, how did you do this? And I'm like, I just got a lot going on. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, and, we had a moment of exchange there. He ended up looking out for me. So he said, but I did have to call my bank. But the point is, there was no need to be like, oh, you're so dumb. There was no need for me to come at him and be like, oh, y'all got this raggedy laundromat. No. We're not finna do that. We're not finna do that. Because why? Because we are humans. And then you know what? Something I've been thinking about, and honestly, we could do a segment on this. I'm actually going to do a segment on this. I'm for real. We gotta start humanizing Black people. You know what I mean? We got to start humanizing Black people in the sense of their abilities. Okay. We got to start recognizing that, hey, listen, some of us are impoverished because we want to be. Okay. Some of us are in situations because we want to be. Okay. Some of us don't have because we ain't working for it, period. You know what I mean? We have to stop, referring to Black people as these people who are just in lack because they're incompetent, because, these underserved kids, you know what I mean? Like, we are just as capable and competent as anybody else. And first and foremost, when it comes to the youth, we got to stop with all this other, quote unquote, other language. You see what I'm saying? That robs Black kids of their dignity. It is incredibly isolating and incredibly discouraging when you're pulled out of a classroom and pulled to the side, and it's like, oh, well, you're going to be in this program in front of all the white, it's like, we got to stop doing that. We are no different. We are no less than anybody else. For so many of us, we just don't have the tools, and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? People aren't, the white student, they may not get it either. You know what I mean? They may go to tutoring. They may have parents backing them in their regard to academia. Y'all know how it is coming from the previous generations. Hey, listen, they was lost on hip hop. All right. They was high on hip hop. They was lost on hip hop. They weren't thinking about no academia. All right. So for so many of us moving forward, millennial and a little bit of Gen Z, that's not our focus. You know what I mean? They was high on hip hop. So the focus came entertainment. That's what you're getting from the previous generation. That's what you're getting from our mothers, our fathers. You know what I mean? And so prior to that, their parents were big on academia, but then you had so much of the civil rights and things that they were going through. They couldn't get in academia. So that was actually a lack of access and privilege. You know what I mean? So understand the generations and understand where we're at as Black people. And just, start to humanize our experiences a little bit. You know what I mean? Humanize one another. We're not, oh, look at these poor Black people because whoop-de-whoop, and they're just down in their luck. That was back in the 50s, 40s. You know what I mean? We're not depicted as the Black and white anymore. Okay. Some of us have made some very unfortunate choices. We made the best choices that we could, but unfortunately those choices have come with consequences, and this is where we're at. You know what I mean? But we don't need no more of this language of like lack and incompetency and, oh, you feel sorry for the Black because the Black cannot get ahead. The Black can, no, we're done with that. We done with that. I know it's ugly and the waters are murky. We still got a lot of work to do, but there's been a lot of work that has been done. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm saying. And I just want to start to humanize us in regards to our abilities, humanize us in regards to our intellectual capacities. Okay. I am self-taught. Okay. And I'll tell you in a minute, I don't know everything. Y'all know sometimes I'll be on here, we be misusing terms. I got my dictionary. You know what I mean? I'm handling my business. You know what I mean? I'm doing what I got to do to be astute because I care about academia. I value intellectualism. I value intelligence. And so that's just me though. I love learning, you know what I mean? So I put my money where my mouth is, but that's just me. And I say that to say, I went about my business about how I went about my business. You know what I mean? I can't sit here and complain about certain things I don't have because of the choices that I made. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm a woman about mine. Okay, I'm a human about mine. All right, I'm American about mine. I'm handling my business to get to where I want to be. And I don't need you to sit here and say, oh my God, this poor black woman, and she just had these experiences. No, I'm good, thank you. You know what I mean? I'm good. And so we gotta kind of stop, humanizing one another, and we gotta stop seeing one another as, incapable, and incompetent and fundamentally broken. You know what I mean? And then again, we start talking about that fundamental, seeing one another as fundamentally broken. That looks like treating one another with respect. You know what I mean? Like, come on, seriously. Let's just be a little respectful. I know you ain't going to get it from everybody, and that's not a black thing. That's just a life thing. Some people are jerks, and that's just what it is, you know. But at the end of the day, you keep talking about advocacy. It starts with language, okay? It starts with language. I know, you know, hey, you listen. We're all in different spaces, okay? I know right now we are a little classist, all right, okay? But we can still be respectful. We can still be kind. We can still show up in the world with a little bit more respect. And that starts, I think that looks like from a familial standpoint. I don't know what it was. Like I said, that previous civil, I don't know. I think the racism and all that got their minds messed up. Because, you know, what is it? Boomer, Gen X, the way they come in, it's just like criticism, it's disrespect. It's like, I'm going to talk to you how I want to talk to you. And it's like, you don't have to come like that. What are you doing? You're disrespectful. You're disrespectful. It's not okay. It's not appropriate. And I think when you start to really do a little bit more like self-reflective work, I know therapy is not something that's, you know, privy to everybody. And if I could, you know, get some resources for you guys about therapy, I really would. You know, I may do a little research. I ain't going to make no promises, but I'll keep it in the back of my mind, you know, to kind of pass along some free therapy services. And I also know too, you know, with that, hey, there's a little bit of nuance, okay? Just because it's free doesn't mean it's effective, all right? You have a lot of people who are giving out these free services and they're highly incompetent. And that's not disrespect. That's just being honest, right? They may not be equipped to work with some of the issues that you have. But much of therapy, you know, really is just validating your experiences, validating what you've been through, and offering some more positive solutions. So there's that. But anyway, nonetheless, okay, humanizing one another, okay, and respect, language, you know, be kind. Kindness is free. It does not kill you to be kind. Be kind. Okay, be kind. You can't be kind with everybody. Okay, I understand that. You say people crazy. Again, humanizing people. You know, humanizing people. I know right now there is a bit of a mental health crisis. And we could talk about that on another day. There absolutely is a mental health crisis. And, you know, really what the crisis is pessimism. You see what I'm saying? It's pessimism. It's this sense of apathy. You know, hedonism, capital. No, it's apathy, you know, and it's not even anything that's really going on in day to day. So much of the apathy that we're seeing today is actually manufactured through social media and our perception. You know, listen, I was reading last night because lately, y'all, I have been struggling to find a good book. Like, I usually have my little ways how I go about finding books, and I've got all these books that I've saved, but nothing is really hitting, you know, nothing is really like captivating me. I tried to get into Matriarch, but I'm like, God darn, Tina, she had so much to say. And the book is like 500 pages. Jesus Christ. It's like, what is the Harry Potter? Like, you know, I love the Knowles. I love what the Carters have done. Much respect to the black elite, okay? But at the end of the day, god dang, girl, you know what I mean? You talk about a life story. I mean, she put it all there. I'm like, okay, her editor should have been like, hey, listen, Tina, we're going to condense this. You know what I mean? I mean, 300 pages is not a lot, but it kind of is. At least it's for me, you know, where I am in my life. So anyway, I'm trying to find new books. I don't know where I was going with that. But anyway, the mental health crisis that we're seeing today is pessimism. You know, pessimism is actually a mental illness. I do believe it is. Yeah, because, you know, pessimism can just alter your entire life and your entire experiences. And that's what you're seeing today. So many people are pessimistic. You walk down the street, you know, you see a young dude or a man in general, and it's like just straight up mugging, disrespect, you know, and it's not anything about you. You know, he's looking at you through the lens of all the other women that he's met, all the things he's seen online about being a broke bastard, about whoop-de-whoop, you know. So it's like people are just really hard pressed today. You have to be careful. That's why I say your best bet is to be kind. Jesus Christ. Because, you know, a lot of people today ain't wrapped too tight. You know, even when they come in the comments, it's like, okay, a little unhinged. I mean, people are seriously becoming unraveled. So anyway, mental health is on the rise. If I had some resources, I will definitely share. But the best thing you can do for yourself is work on speaking to yourself with respect and kindness, okay? and be kind to other people. I think maturity is recognizing that you be kind for you. Everything that you are, being good in the sense of like, good is subjective, but like being a good person and being kind and all that is for you. When you get a little bit older, you mature, you realize that is actually for you. That is for your own internal peace and self-esteem. It has absolutely nothing to do with other people because, a lot of people aren't really kind. You know what I mean? That's why kindness goes such a long way. And when you find yourself kind, being a light, okay, for the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and you find yourself being optimistic and all these things, people are drawn to you. You know what I mean? Because that's like so rare today. So many people are just weighed down by all the things that they see online. And it really baits us. It really baits us. When you think about it, it's like you get online and it's one article. It's like single mother abandoned in the car and the kids, and then it's like the Trump doing some other crazy stuff. It's just like it's never ending. And before you know it, you're in this space of emotional reactivity, and now you're riled up, and now you're upset. I'll be in a space of peace in my life, like because I'm so mindful about how I engage with social media. I don't even listen. I ain't gonna tell you my life, but that's just So anyway, and so I'll notice the shift. And it takes a while to kind of dial it back. You know what I mean? To come back to myself and be like, whoa, that was heavy. So it's like when you're online, man, that stuff is really vying for your attention, and it really does want to keep us divided. I was just talking to my mother about this. You talk about racism and race wars and all this other stuff. That's exactly what it's set to do. You had a good day at work yesterday with your colleagues. You get online. It's like, you know what? God damn it. Hand me my sign. I'm going out here. I got to make a statement. You know what I mean? Like, and it does that to you, And so if you want to have peace, you got to fight for it today. And I think the best thing you can do for yourself, though, at the end of the day, like I said, speaking kind to yourself, speaking kind to one another, humanizing the black, okay, the black, I'm sorry, wait, are we not doing that politically? Okay, we're not doing that. The African-American, okay, humanizing the African-Americans amongst us and one another and amongst you, okay, and being kind to yourself, it goes a long way. People want to be friends with people who are kind. Nobody wants to be friends with a jerk. I know you got your boundaries, but Jesus Christ. I know you done seen some things, but everybody's not. Listen, kindness goes a long way. Love you guys. Peace.